Dawn at Lake Serenity is the kind of morning you wish you could bottle up and save for those days when everything else goes wrong. You know? The mist rising slow off the water, that sharp call of loons carrying across the trees, pine needles mixing with the bitter bite of real coffee. And for a moment, I swear, I almost forget the last 20 years happened. 2 decades of waking up in uniform, a marriage that fell apart like wet paper, all of it draining out of me until I was more scar tissue than person. I was leaning on my granddad's porch rail, wrapped around this chipped mug that survived more generations than most families see, when the silence shattered. First the crunch of gravel, then 2 squad cars rolling up, dust blooming in the dawn, and those red and blue strobes splashing my cabin walls like it was some sick 4th of July. And let me tell you, around here, cops don't show up at sunrise unless somebody's dead, or somebody with power wants you gone. Both car doors popped in perfect TV cop choreography, and out stepped a rookie with a jaw like he ate rules for breakfast and a sergeant old enough to have learned that most rules get bent. The rookie was the one with the clipboard, official, all sir, you're under arrest for trespassing on private property. And I almost spit my coffee out because, trespassing, on my own damn porch? But then I saw her, right across the water on the deck of this monstrous McMansion in a bathrobe the color of a traffic flare, mug big as a flower pot in one hand, the other pointed at me like I was an escaped convict. Brenda Carmichael, Queen of Entitlement, self-elected ruler of Lake Serenity. Her smile, it was that particular brand of smug that says I win, you lose, and everyone else knows it too. I knew in that instant, she'd called the cops herself, set up the whole little drama, hoping I'd get frog-marched off my own land in cuffs. The rookie looked lost, like the world just shifted under his feet, but the sergeant studied me, eyes sharp, weighing whether I was a problem or just another guy who'd had enough. I remembered what my granddad always said, don't fight emotion with emotion, fight it with facts. So I just held up the deed, laid it out flat. Every inch of this land traced back before Brenda's house was even a dream in some developer's head. You could almost hear Brenda grinding her teeth from across the lake, watching her perfect little plan unravel. But that was the moment I realized this wasn't some neighbor spat. This was war. She wanted me gone, and she was willing to twist the law, the cops, whatever, to make it happen. People ask why I didn't just pack it in, go somewhere else. Truth is, I'd already done enough running. 20 years in logistics, moving at a moment's notice, then a divorce that took everything but my bones, and finally this. My grandfather's old A-frame on 2 acres of pine and cedar, north end of Lake Serenity, and for a couple years it felt like paradise. The kind of place where you could breathe again, where neighbors actually helped each other, where Mrs. Adams, 90 and twice as sharp as me, baked pies for every new face, and the worst trouble you had was some old tomcat stealing bluegills off the dock. That's how I remember it, at least, before Brenda landed. Not moved in. Landed, like a storm nobody saw coming, bringing with her this monstrosity of white siding and glass, blinding the whole lake. Her first week, she did the politician's tour, waving from a pontoon boat, capris and cardigan so bright you'd think she was a walking emergency beacon. But underneath all that sweetness was steel. Her eyes missed nothing, scanning every dock, every mailbox, every patch of grass like she was buying up the whole shoreline. Didn't take long for the gossip to start. Bossy, new money, wants to run the place. At first, I figured let her play queen. That was the unspoken rule at Lake Serenity. Wave, help out, mind your own business. Brenda had other ideas. She came barreling across the water one morning, throttling that oversized boat of hers, hollering you, like she'd just won the lottery, tied up to my dock without asking, and started in on how my rustic setup didn't meet community standards. You ever have someone tell you your whole life's wrong, before you've even had your second cup of coffee? That's when she pulled out this glossy fake HOA pamphlet, reading off violations like she was county code enforcement, telling me my old boat had to go, my gear was unsightly, that she was just protecting our investment. I told her plain, my family's been here since before she could spell regulation. There's no HOA on my deed, there never will be. Her smile snapped like ice in January, and she left a wake that nearly knocked me off my dock. But Brenda was just getting started. Within days, the lake was buzzing with official notices, lawn ornaments, mailbox colors, Florence's bird feeders, all under her made-up HOA. People laughed until the first $500 fine appeared, stuck to my door like a parking ticket from hell. She started calling every authority in the county, code enforcement, even tried to bribe the officer who came out to inspect my dock. He told me, off the record, she'd offered $100, called it a consulting fee. She was turning the system against anyone who wouldn't bow to her. That's when I realized Brenda wasn't just annoying. She was dangerous. And she was running something bigger than a one-woman HOA. County records showed a string of cabins recently sold to a shell company, hers. All the while, she's listing them online as luxury rentals, breaking every zoning rule in the book, and using her fake HOA as a hammer to keep neighbors quiet. I started asking around quietly. Turns out, I wasn't the only target. Janet Miller, retired librarian with a binder thick enough to stop a bullet, had every fake notice Brenda sent. Tom Harris at the marina had photos of bounced checks, trash docks. Even Florence, bless her heart, had notes on late-night parties at Brenda's place, not families, but strangers. Piece by piece, we put together the real picture. Brenda was running a scam, bullying anyone who got in her way. So, we formed our own little truth squad. Started a group chat, compared notes, got organized. The more we dug, the angrier folks got, and the more desperate Brenda became. She started sending her handyman around at night. Caught him on camera sinking my boat by pulling the drain plug, did nearly $3,000 in damage. Then came the roofing nails, scattered in driveways. Tom's truck got 2 flats, Annie's minivan next. Florence actually caught the guy red-handed. Let him have it with a lecture only a 90-year-old can deliver, scared him off her property for good. Brenda escalated, calling town meetings, passing out fake violation charts, standing in front of slideshows with stock photos and property graphs. But she couldn't hide the panic, always checking her phone, sneaking out to make calls about payments and legal pressure. Janet overheard her, brought it back to the squad. The whole thing was about money. Squeezing the community to pay off debts, keep her rental empire afloat. The real turning point came when my lawyer, old Arthur Payton, the kind of guy who wears suits like armor, called me in. Turns out, my granddad set up a trust decades ago. Not only did I own my cabin, I owned the very land Brenda's house sat on. She'd been paying rent, through her shell company, to her own landlord, me. 3 years' worth, without ever knowing. Her lease had a dozen violations, unlicensed rentals, harassment, late payments. Arthur handed me an eviction notice. I held the power now. We decided to go public. Town meeting at the high school gym. Every neighbor, news crew, even the county attorney showed up. Brenda rolled in late. Lawyer in tow, strutted down the aisle in a white suit, ready for battle. I stood at the podium, laid out every violation, every fake fine, every trick. Then Arthur dropped the bomb. The lease, the trust, the proof that I owned Brenda's mansion. The room went dead quiet, then exploded with laughter and applause. For the first time, Brenda looked small, just another tenant being evicted for breaking every rule in the book. Brenda left Lake Serenity the way storms do, loud, messy, leaving a trail of damage behind. U-Haul stuffed with all her gold lamps and bitterness. Neighbors watching from their porches as the so-called queen marched out in sweatpants, sunglasses hiding nothing. She got probation for bribery. Her rentals were shut down. The lake went back to calm, and the trust account, well, let's just say it's a lot quieter these days. But here's the twist, the part nobody expects. The Truth Squad didn't just beat a bully. We built something better. The Lake Serenity Advisory Committee, not an HOA, but a circle of neighbors looking out for each other. Fish fries on weekends, scholarship fund for kids who want to protect the lake, real community standards. Keep the water clean, help your neighbor, wave when you pass. Even Florence runs the cleanup days, cane in hand, still telling stories about Brenda's comeuppance. Janet and I, well, let's just say librarians make damn good partners when you're rebuilding trust. Sometimes, sitting out on my dock, coffee in hand, sun burning gold off the water, I remember what my grandfather said. Sometimes, the smartest move is to let the other guys swing themselves tired, then remind them who owns the ring. Brenda thought power came from fear, but real power, it turns out, comes from neighbors who refuse to be divided. That's the real victory of Lake Serenity. And if you're ever in the area, you'll find us out on the porch, sharing coffee, telling stories, and never, ever letting one person tear the place apart again. Now let me ask you, if you were in our shoes, would you have fought back or let it slide? Do you think justice was served, or did we go too far? Drop your take below, tell us your own neighborhood war stories, and let's see just how far a little bit of unity and a lot of receipts can go.